I will, because usually it's Chuck.
Okay.
All right, so our first, well, I guess we'll do the jumping goat first, because Eric is here. So he's requesting $40,000 to be amortized over 5 years. I'll let him talk about the project. If you want to go ahead.
Sure. I want to talk about, I think, something that's extremely important and how we got to this project to begin with. I am a serial entrepreneur. I've been involved in a lot of different industries, from convenience stores to consulting and everything in between. So I've seen different businesses, different operations, different aspects of it, what succeeds, what fails. That's what brought me into consulting in the first place. I wrote a book on how to sell memberships. That book is actually still a bestseller to this day. It's 10 years later, which is very weird to me because I failed English twice in high school. So author was not in my future plans, but that led me to becoming a consultant for some franchise companies. I started working with 10 of the top 12 fitness franchises, 4 of the top 5 clubs in the US, top grossing clubs, from golf to fitness and everything in between. And I learned a lot about operations and systems and scaling. And I turned that into, instead of consulting, going into business for myself and helping others do the same. So I got involved in a fitness brand that has 43 units called Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping that has recently been acquired by Fit Brands. That has another brand that goes along with that. In addition to that, I was an early partner in the Premier Martial Arts Organization. I actually had one here in Watertown, an early licensee, and helped develop that into a franchise model, which we weren't able to do in New York because the owners of it started with the licensee model, and New York was like, oh, that's kind of a franchise, so you owe us some money. So they're working that out. Anyway, I was involved in that, and then went on to found a hitting instruction company where we teach baseball lessons. Again, it was through membership sales, and we turned that from a one location idea, and now it's been in business 18 months now, and it's got 13 locations in the South, in Florida, and Texas, and all over there. So when you look at franchise scaling and those kinds of things, I have a lot of experience in that. I've had a lot of experience in over the years, and I've really kind of been directed towards it because I've been good at it. And so it's like, hey, that's like the Google thing. Hey, do you know how to do this? Yeah, I do. So let's grow some business. One of the things early on in my career in sales, I worked for Kraft Foods. Kraft Foods had a direct sales organization. Now it's US Foods. They acquired all of the different ones, but I worked for Kraft, and during my time at Kraft, I bring this out, a little show and tell for you guys. Also because I talk a lot about this, and I never have the proof to back it up, so I figured I'd bring a couple of words to show you guys. My big thing was selling coffee. That's what I was the best at. And the reason why I was able to do that, and it's Maxwell House I'm selling, by the way. I don't know if you guys have any experience with Maxwell House, but it's not the greatest coffee, especially when you look at commercially. So I had to get attention. I had to find a way in. And I thought it was interesting that coffee was actually discovered by goats. Are you guys familiar with this? Mm-hmm. So about 1,200 years ago, these goats were out in a field, and they came across this tree with these red cherries on it, and they started eating them. Well, the goat herder looks down, and he sees these goats jumping around. So he runs down, he says, hey, I gotta try this stuff out, man. It's doing this to the goats. He eats it, and he starts jumping around, boom, bam, bang. Here we are with coffee. This story, that's the abbreviated version, but that's how I would book appointments and how I would get a conversation going about coffee, because the guy who knows how it was discovered might know something else about it. And at least get a taste test. At least get a conversation, that's all I needed. And so that's what got me these awards. I was selling coffee like crazy. People couldn't even understand it. I went so far even to learn Greek, because a lot of diners are owned by Greeks. And so I said, if I can learn a couple things with that, that'll help me out too, help me tell a story better. And so I became in the top 5%, Sales Leadership Council, got the rings, the whole deal with it. In the back of my mind though, this idea of selling coffee through a drive-through is something I always wanted, because I always had to go in, order my cup, they pour it. These didn't exist 25 years ago, by the way. This is 25 years ago when I was doing this, okay? You can see the date on this thing. All right, so they didn't exist, but I never really went for it. I'm out making money. You know, I'm not thinking a passion project makes a lot of sense. So fast forward to now where we are, 2024. I've had multiple businesses. I have a software company that I have here in Watertown. We, in fact, in November passed the 1 million engagement mark, which is insane when you think about that. 1 million engagements through our software. And we bring customers back into local businesses. So I happened to be over at Brouhaha. They were trying to do a reopen, and they were doing sandwiches. The guy who was doing it, admittedly, was doing it wrong. But I went in there and said, hey, I want to talk to you about my software. And he starts talking to me about this business. And this little thing in the back of my mind starts to kind of light up a little bit. And I said, you know what, if this idea has not been taken, I gotta go. I gotta do it. And so I searched, I went everywhere, I looked trademarks, I went to websites, which by the way, I got my LLC yesterday and my EIN, so happy about that. It didn't have, it's not out there. The concept is going insane right now. There's a company called 7 Brews that is gonna open 61 stores like this in New York State next year. There's another company called Swig that sells only sodas, but they mix them up like cocktails. It's exploding in terms of locations. So I start talking to Corey and Teresa. Corey's the friend who was trying to keep it going. Teresa is the owner of the Brouhaha. She founded it, she built it, the whole deal. And it's a sad story because it was humming. It was doing amazing. One day, it got broke into. Teresa is using this as her retirement. You know, she was a nurse, and this was kind of her retirement thing. And she's not of the stature where she could defend herself against somebody who broke into her store. So it scared her that somebody broke in. She's opening at 5 in the morning, you know, it's dark, all this stuff. And she figured if she closed it down, she'd get the nerve up a couple weeks and reopen it. And the sad part is she never did get the nerve. And so she just wanted nothing to do with it. And so it sits there, the property starts to deteriorate, the parking lot starts to get holes in it, the roof is having issues with it, but it's starting to become a dilapidated property. A friend of hers said, hey, let me try to get this thing going so you can at least fix it up. And that turned out to be a disaster. So now we have a property that's sitting there, not a lot of uses for a 400 square foot building, to be quite frank about it. And this concept that I have, bringing it to this corner, I think is going to do a lot of things. First of all, as you guys heard about my background, this is not a one location thing I'm looking at. This is the first location. This is going to be the concept. This is going to be the one that's going to expand out. But that corner right there, as you guys drive by it and as you see it, it's not getting better. It's not looking any better. It's getting worse. It's falling apart over there. And so my plan is to redo that whole corner, to turn that not just into a bustling business again, but to make it something where people actually want to take a picture being there. And so the whole model is built around engagement. It's about the story, and it's about something you're never going to forget. Because the story of the jumping goat, you will never forget that now. Not only will you never forget that, but if anybody ever asked you, you're going to want to tell it. And so you have a built-in brand story that works. And when people drive up, not only are they going to have the ability to choose their experience in coffee, but they're going to be able to do it in soda. 60% of the people driving around here today are going to drink soda. It's the same number of coffee. And so we're going to offer that. And we're going to offer energy drinks, and we're going to offer water. All of these things started with coffee, And now you get to discover your own flavors. You're the goats of great taste, and that's the whole idea and the concept. The marketing behind it's going to be next level. From our cups to our visuals, as you can see, we have a hoodie that's coming out that actually has a cup holder in the sleeve. So all of our things are going to be based around engagement with that. It's not just a normal hoodie, but something you can actually hold your coffee cup with. And it's got a little hoof print on the sleeve as well. So that's the gist of it. In terms of what I plan on doing for the job creation, right out of the gates, we're going to need 2 full-time employees over there and a couple part-time. I'm also anticipating there's going to need to be a staff of more than that, obviously, to rotate people in and out. We're not just going to have 2 part-time employees and that's it. In addition to that, as I mentioned, this is what we're doing as a launch pad for more locations. I already have interest in more locations. I just got to get this one launched and rocking and rolling. Because it's basically built out and fitted, we don't have to do much for construction. Just freshen it up, bring in new digital signs, really make that corner look great again. And yeah, we'll put this back on the books as far as tax revenue. And I think we'll do better over there with what they did in the past. So that's the gist of it. Yeah, any questions?
What hours are you thinking?
7 to 2.
Okay.
And that's initial, and that's from what they've done in the past. They saw a big drop off from 2 to 4, and so that's why they went to 2. But with that being said, there's some fluidity in these numbers because we're going to offer cold drinks and sodas that were not offered before. We're talking about these quote unquote dirty sodas. Ours are going to be called the GOAT sodas, greatest of all time type of thing. We're playing off of that too. So we anticipate being able to get into some of those later hours with some of those drinks too. We're just not 100% certain what we're going to see with that. So it's not like the main driver. But we can do those numbers in those hours. Because we're talking first year, 160 is what I am anticipating serving a day, which is like, I feel
160 customers a day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 160 cars.
160 cars.
Yeah.
Is there any walk-in there? No, just, okay.
You
Can you, of course, that corner is kind of a toughie for walkers anyway.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I just feel
I
like.
mean, a sidewalk ends right there.
Yeah.
When you come around, I don't even know when it goes down the hill there towards the river, you come around and it just stops. Just past our driveway, there's nowhere else to go, so it's like, where do you walk from? It's kind of
What's
weird.
your average price point, do you think? Like, have you thought that through?
Yeah, it's, yeah, let me grab this because I've got so many numbers that go through my head, I don't want to be. And in my plan too, I show what's happened in this industry. So I mentioned 7 brews. This is something that'll be important for you guys as well. These are all the 7 brews that are opening. That's the one that does these go-to-go drinks. This is just soda. So these guys do coffee drinks, these guys do soda, and they started here and they work out, then they launch one here and they're going here, and then here. 7 Brews is going nuts. BlackRock just invested in 7 Brews, so they're going like gangbusters, adding locations. So your question was average price, yes. All right.
Is that their brand 7 Brews?
Yeah, that's what it's called. I know I have this. I might have to get that back. I got per ounce. You want average? Where the heck would that freaking number be? I want to say it was 475, but I don't have the math on here. How I got to that, which is obviously not. It's got to be in here.
Well, that's sorry, entertain your questions, Will.
Yeah, what other questions do you have when I look for this? Because I know it's in this dang thing.
I remember seeing it, but maybe it was
Yeah.
when we talked about it, could have also been.
Well, I know that if it's $4.75 or anything under $8, you're competitive with everybody else, considering how much money I spend on my children with drinks.
Right.
It's disgusting, and I hate it, but boy, is that one hell of a business. So I think it's, I'm assuming you're gonna have a coffee milkshake drink, frappuccino
Oh,
type
yes.
thing.
Well, so there's essentially about 500,000 different combinations you can get from everything that we have. So, yeah, we're gonna have some stuff. You have to have your basic, what I call bread and butter. You know, I've seen a lot in especially in the restaurant space. What happens when somebody wants to open a restaurant? They want all the top level food. They want to do these crazy things, and people come in and they order hamburgers and French fries, and it makes them crazy.
Yeah.
Like, why are you guys? You can get all these things. That's what I want.
Yeah.
And so they flip it back. So you got to have like that staple thing, and can't get too like crazy out there with it.
Zero food?
Zero food. Now, I have some thoughts about prepackaged, like,
That's a pre-bag sandwich or something.
you know, like the Lunchable kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Because again, it goes like along with our vibe of grazing. Goat grazers is kind of where I'm thinking with that. But when we launch, it's all beverage. And a couple reasons why that's happening. One, you mentioned it, margins. I mean, you're talking about doing 3,000 drinks on a soda that costs like $150.
Yeah.
And it can do 3,000 drinks. You know, let's talk about staff. One of the things that every business, and I'm talking to all these businesses, every day we go out and we're talking to businesses. Staffing is hard. Not only finding staff, but then when you find them, training them to do the work, like it's complicated to work in a small business. Owners doing everything. This model, it's simple. You push a button, you add a creamer, you put a pump of flavor in it. No food involved. No pre-prep kind of a thing like that. Other than, you know, some of the fruits that gotta be cut up. So the staffing part of it, super simple. We also have a path for career development with our expansion. And again, part of bringing staff on is they have somewhere to go beyond just working in your little stand. So yeah, and then duplicating this. Right now, the models that are out there, Scooters, 7 Brews, Swig, you're talking $1 million or $2 million to open them. It's insane because a lot of them are going out of business. They're dumping that kind of money into this, and they're going to see a certain amount of volume. Our model is to keep it very, very cost effective. These buildings are easy to put up. The land that they're on is typically cheap to get, and you don't need to be in these huge traffic. You get 10 to 15,000 cars and you're going to be okay. More than that, you're rocking and rolling. And Swig, the company, this soda company, so the point of sale systems that I'm talking to, one of them that I talked to, it's called Crisp. They do all of Swig's stuff. They have stores that are doing 80 drinks an hour in just soda. It's nuts.
Where are those stores?
Utah's where they started. The main reason they started was because the religion. You can't drink coffee, or I think it's hot beverages is what it is when you're a Mormon. So they open these soda shops.
That's awful.
And then wild? So now they have all these sodas shops. Then someone said, hey, we should have one of these in Texas. They opened one in Texas and boom, started opening there, and in Florida and all the way up through. And my wife and I actually heard of Swig through a show on Hulu called Real House, what the heck?
Secret Life of
Mormon Wives. And they're always drinking their Swig drinks. And we're like, what the heck is that? We got to try it. And we mixed some of them up. We're like, oh my God, this is actually really good. You know, so yeah, adding it to the mix of what we're doing here and taking food cost out. Food cost it's everything in that business. You never sell all of your food. And so when you're doing your profit margins, it's like you got to account for that, and they're so thin, you can't mess up. This, you have your margins that are I mean, a pot of coffee is, you know, you're talking 5 cents to 10 cents for a pot. And you're selling them for $4.75, $4 all day long. I told you what the soda was. And by the way, I already have Pepsi committed to helping us with the equipment for the next 3 locations. Same thing with Toast Point of Sale. They've committed to help and contribute equipment to this project as well. So we're looking like we're in good shape.
I like it. I like it. I've never even seen my daughter eat food. All she does is eat and drink $10 drinks.
Yeah. One thing also, real quick, marketing wise, we are going to be pre-selling our merchandise. And anybody who buys it ahead of time, this is one of the things that I pioneered in the gym space. I don't know if you guys have any experience with this. But when I got into the gym space where you're selling memberships, you opened a business and did grand opening and people came in and you sold memberships. You had this whole big deal. I'm gonna knock that over. I said, why don't you sell them before you open? Like, what do you sell? You sell the membership. It's about to open. You know what I mean? So we did this thing called pre-sales. Pre-open sales is what I called it. Now it's a thing in the industry. Like these small studios, no studio will open without pre-open sales. Well, I'm going to do it in this business. And how we're going to do it is we're going to sell our merchandise, which is going to advertise the brand, first of all. And you can see this stuff is cool. Like local goat means a lot of different things. We're going to pre-sell it. Anybody who has that the day we open gets a free drink. So what are we doing? We're selling our advertising and we're pre-selling our drinks because the cost is going to be built into the apparel. So now we're able to sell drinks before we even open, just like I did in the fitness space. And I'm excited to see how that goes, but I think we're going to do really well with it, especially with the merchandising stuff.
What is your open date anticipation? What do you anticipate?
I'm waiting to hear from you guys. Once I get the go-ahead, it's going to be... The thing with this is the reason why I don't have a fluid, or a solid date.
So if we don't do this, then you're saying it delays you.
Big time, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys are a very important piece to this. The timing for it, because it's already built out, it's just a matter of ordering and getting stuff in. I've already talked to signs, I've already talked to all of the things that need to happen so that when we can go, I'm going like 100 miles an hour.
Is this your only financing?
No, the building itself.
Okay, other than the building and, so no other loan?
No, my money, that's
Yeah.
it. I mean, when you look at this project, you're talking about, what is it? Couple $100,000 project to launch, which is wild to me, you know? I mean, because of what we're gonna do with it and really where it's gonna go. So there's not a lot of funding, I think, that you need to really launch this thing, you know? And I wanna keep it that way. I wanna do this for the future stuff too, so that other locations can see, hey, you can launch one of these for a couple $100,000, not 2 million, you know? And so that's the model. That's how Subway did it. That's how Chick-fil-A does it. Now they used to be 10 grand. Now you can still get a Chick-fil-A franchise for 10 grand, but the build out
We ain't putting no shit for you.
ain't 10 grand. So, but that's the idea with our franchise too, is to keep the franchise fee so that people can open them and not be in, have this huge debt to overcome. Any other questions?
Not that I can think of.
Pretty good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks
You're
for
welcome.
coming in.
Thanks for the overview.
You're welcome. I will get that average number to you, or what? Now it wasn't it was the average purchase. I'll get that to you, and I'll leave this too. But it's in here. But I'm just gonna make sure you get it. All right.
All right.
Thanks,
Enjoy
Eric.
your
You're
day.
welcome.
Nice
Great
to meet you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you too. I'm not the only one that's done that.
Nah.
It's a little taste things.
Yeah, let's see.
Yep.
That'd be great.
That's that. Pack this stuff up.
So we missed you two gentlemen at government.
Yeah.
Oh, you must
Oh, That's why we passed one of those documents off to this committee, just so you
It was 2 days ago or whatever.
I think that's what she said.
I'm
It wasn't like,
teasing you.
no, it was one of those ones.
It was 2 days before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It was a
So
Monday.
Did you, bye, we'll see you.
Thank
Did you
you.
send us a calendar invite on that?
Yep.
You said you were coming.
I'm sorry.
It was Monday at 8.
It's just like when I sign those checks, this time of year is a tough time of year.
You got a little of the work and you passed it there, my friend.
Right,
That took care of you.
I see that, yeah.
And I love how Joy points out, at the direction of the governance committee, I'll be looking at, Joy, you could have found another way to say this.
That's all.
Well,
She's very direct.
Is very good.
trying to.
No, in fact, I was looking at the JCIDA stuff, right? Like going to look at the minutes and stuff like that. It said governance committee. I'm like,
Oh,
shit. And that was like a week and a half
You didn't
later.
really miss anything.
hey, we're on camera, just so you know.
You didn't miss anything. We're good. It's all good.
Just for your crap, we're on camera.
I think there's any more questions that you guys have.
Can I say that I don't love it?
No,
I
you
just-
can say that.
I just want to be
That's-
frank,
that's-
and I wonder, and I know that, you know, our role is to support businesses, but I have some kind of feeling about, we just supported a very similar business model just down the street. Does that dilute her business at all?
I don't think so because they're still very different. Because I'm assuming you're reading one that just moved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to be also a very different clientele that they target. These people are going to be those that are just don't want to get out of their vehicle. They're going to do their typical drive-through.
Well, she's offering that, you don't have to get out of your vehicle. Of course,
Yeah.
I know she has a more extensive menu.
Yeah. And
That crossed my mind, and this felt very much like a soupy sales presentation.
Can we choose based on something else like that? Do we have that luxury
I don't know.
where we can pick a winner
I
in
don't
that
know.
way?
What are you talking about?
Meaning like not support this project because we supported another somewhat similar project. on the
No,
street.
no. No, but, I mean, okay, so valid questions, right? I mean, I can understand everything you're saying. I like your point about I like it, right? Let's be realistic here. We're gonna put $40,000, commit $40,000 to a project, and there's no history there. There's history on that corner, but this project is brand new, right? All those great numbers we heard, I'm in tune. I asked the question, where are they? We have to be realistic for the geographic area where we are. Specifically, that corner's been tried more than one time. Get it's a different concept. I'm not picking winners and losers
No, of course,
here, right? I'm looking, if we commit 40, what's our commitment other than throwing 40 on the table? What's the commitment back to us for it? You asked a very valid question when the gentleman was sitting here. Is this your only financing?
Yeah.
Okay? The seller has no commitment on the table. Right? They're gonna get a lease check, but if he doesn't make the lease payment, guess what they got? They got their corner back. We put $40,000 out, we're getting a second position in all business assets. I don't know where the first position is, but we're getting a second position.
He was the seller.
Which means we're unsecured. There's nothing that this individual's looking to pledge to this organization to say, hey, I'm committed to my project. Right? We clarified he needs this capital in order to make this thing go. I'm listening to the world of success for the last 25 years. And the first question in my mind is, where's his capacity to get to the table in a similar fashion to where we are? Put your 40 up. He's saying he's putting 21.5 in. We never confirm that, right? We always take the validity of the word of the potential borrower sitting in front of us.
Yeah, and he did say to us if we needed because he had asked if we needed the proof that he would supply that.
Is he bankable? I found myself looking at you two guys going, why isn't he?
What's his credit and all that stuff?
Yeah, that's what I was looking for in the other one, because it said about his credit was good in the other one,
But
or the
there's
other
not.
person.
Well, his
This is recorded,
AGI
though?
is relatively low for his long business history.
I was surprised
think.
by that. I wish that was a bigger number.
Edited or
What?
is
No.
live?
Yeah, we're live.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're live. Yeah, I don't think we can get it, we'd have to go into I don't know how we do that today, but yeah, you can't get into but you could look at the overview of what we're presented, this is a public document.
Right.
But I know what you're saying, right? And if I gotta make a decision on this, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm leaning more towards Dawn, right? I'm saying this is kind of a real interesting story, but I'm not sure it's the best use for our capacity, right? We've got other projects we're looking at, we've got other things, and I'm having a hard time understanding how it's gonna create 8 jobs in a year and it's a 400 square foot building. Could you put 8 people in your space that you have here?
No.
But it would be
it's-
rotating.
Yeah,
It would
rotating, and they
be-
wouldn't all be full-time.
Okay, but,
So it's only, it'd be, from what on his thing, I think it's 2 full-time, the rest would be part-time.
This feels
So-
very risky to me.
So the other thing so it's when we talk about his AGI and stuff, he also doesn't take so he runs Yurka Technologies, he does
Right.
not take any money from Yurka, he's put all his money into it to get it up and running. Originally Don and I talked to him 2 years ago when he was starting Yurka about funding, and then he ended up funding it out of his own pocket because he's divested himself from the franchises that the other projects he's been a part of, and that's how he funded that one. Which is what he talked about originally doing for this project, and then decided he wanted to move up the timeline, and he wouldn't be able to divest himself quick enough, from my understanding. But,
So do you think this is more of like a traditional commercial lens situation?
no.
no, I would say,
So you-
definitely
so-
something that we need to.
To answer your question, I don't know,
I
you-
think this is an
yeah.
economic development,
yeah.
eliminate the blight of,
Here's the thing, if
fixing up a
you got
building.
some for people's cars,
Yeah.
And we do
Yeah.
deal with risky.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
I don't
so
know
for,
that.
in my
No, we don't
opinion,
know
it's
that.
exactly what we're here to do.
That's,
I mean, but you
But
give
I
it
know I
an
don't-
unsecured
I don't-
$40,000.
right.
Right.
That's
the
just
challenge.
my opinion.
Sure.
And he hasn't been through a winter in the
Right.
corner of
Right.
City Center Drive and Coffee Street.
And this is our 3rd coffee shop we've done in a year,
Yeah,
but.
and,
But I do
And to answer your
recognize the
question-
fact that he shares an office right next
Yeah.
door to us, so I do get things in
I would say,
and
it's, I
it
understand
is tough,
that we
it
are
is
risky.
475, because if you just look at his first year projection, if he's gonna do 160 units a day,
Right.
you better charge $5 for him to get to 260,000 for the first year revenue number.
So I was a daily customer when that business was under Teresa and her
Yeah.
sister. And I think the great success was because it was just those two, right? It was Teresa and her sister Karen, and they ran that place. They didn't have a lot of overhead. They knew their customers well. It was a warm, friendly kind of, you went out of your way to get a cup of coffee there because you could chat with those two. So with what's happened with the cost of,
Because it's a local hometown.
Yeah.
with the cost of minimum wage having gone up over the years, I just think that's gonna be a tough, the last person there, I tried to frequent the business multiple times, they tried really hard to make a go of it, and they just couldn't get there. So,
I don't disagree.
On the opposite point, and I don't usually talk, but he is amazing at marketing. Like,
Yes.
he's
he's
over
a
the top.
salesperson, I can see
Right.
that.
And I feel like
Right.
that's one of the differences
Yeah.
that stands out above what has been there in the past is, I mean, him and I have had many conversations both surrounding marketing and stuff, and he has a brilliant marketing mind, and I think that's the biggest thing that's gonna set this apart from what is down the road, and stuff like that.
But again, I wanna go back to, and I'm not saying pick winners and losers, but do we come to a point where we say, we funded X number of coffee shops, aren't we cannibalizing the customers that we've already helped? Do we come to a point where we have to have those conversations?
Have any of our coffee shops, I guess it's too early to tell on the canteen location, but have we had any bad experience with it? So we used to do pizza places for a long time.
Okay.
Remember Lyle's like, we're never doing another pizza place.
Ever.
But the problem was that they kept folding.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, I get it. I don't even care like how compelling your, you want to destroy your credit, open a pizza place. So I guess, but if we know how well that, Starbucks is so freaking busy. The Dunkin' Donuts is so crazy. I guess I'd
Tim
like.
Hortons, literally, it was almost caused an accident this morning
Yeah,
because
it's-
the
I just-
line was
I
insane.
almost
You
feel
go
like
to
you could get
Chrissy Beans?
you could get the people that are
It's
PO'd
crazy.
because the line is too long at Dunkin' Donuts, and they just drive over there, or they know that the line at Starbucks, because you know, that was one thing, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that Starbucks is a freaking zoo. You know, and so I guess I don't know. That cleaning up that corner matters to me, having that open, rather than close, whether or not the 21.5, that to me is him bringing something, whether or not, I mean, if we could prove that he actually spending that money, I think that shows a commitment, honestly, to this, and we've approved more with less equity in the past, at least I know we have, so I guess it's just, I don't know, this market seems like a good place to be right now, I don't know.
Yeah, I would just like to see what he looks like more on paper. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's more of a,
That to me would be the deciding factor,
Yeah.
honestly, at the end of the day.
I'm okay with it. I mean, I think with all the points that have been made is, yeah, we've done a lot of coffee shops. Some aren't even there within the last year. So what's that tell us? I think is a great marketer. I think obviously he comes off,
Very energetic.
Yes,
yeah, very,
yep. I realize he shared a suite next door. And to your point, the property's vacant. Okay, maybe that helps, but, yeah, I think we gotta look at it as a unsecured loan, and if this guy had, got good credit and all that stuff, he wants to take this adventure on, fine. If there's other opportunities to secure the loan, personally or whatever, maybe we look to do that. He probably doesn't have anything, but, that's something
Does
to
he have
take
a
a
house?
look,
Do you
take
know
a
what
look
it
at.
is?
Yep, he owns a house
His
in
personal
Toronto.
financial.
Have you,
Dexter.
has the bank taken a bath on coffee shops ever?
We don't do them.
You don't
No.
know. It's just like we don't.
A lot of times, the trust, send them over here or whatever.
Yeah, okay,
Do you guys do them?
that's interesting.
That's why we
No,
just
because
switched.
And that's what we're
So that
here
is-
they're smaller.
Yeah.
They're smaller.
Yeah, I mean,
SBA
you
loans.
hit the nail on the head.
No.
The risk level is the highest you're gonna find.
Which is why I feel like we typically do. And I know one, right now that we have, it has closed. There's a lot more surrounding it than I think of the fact of being successful. A lot of people were actually angry when they shut their doors. And they're still paying.
And as I recall, that was a very good presentation too.
Well, look, I mean, the other thing is too, and I know
That was
where you're
very
going, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I know he's looking for a 5-year loan. Did you look at the lease he's gonna have with these folks?
So it's an owner-held note, it's over,
No, that's an owner held note, is he gonna pay, so he's not, his occupancy is.
He's
he's
paying
paying
the
the
mortgage,
mortgage, which
okay.
is,
18?
So if
yeah,
he
it's on
defaults,
here.
they can
They
foreclose,
foreclose, yeah, I mean, that's
But there are no formal leases.
Yeah, so
Right.
18,000, and then it's in 2027, he is going to be paying. So just like we just did, or are doing for,
Oh, he wants to come and
So
buy it, finance it. is what
He'll be
you're
fully
saying.
financing it in 2027.
Well, we-
Yes, that's the
Yeah.
plan, the plan. So just like what we did with Pragmatic, it would just,
Yeah, similar scenario, I know what you're
Yes.
talking about, yeah. Different industry, similar scenario.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's, I don't know how you get answers to your questions, well, we're on live camera, so, I mean, that's something, I guess logistics we gotta work out when we're gonna, look at these things, but, you wanna send it up to the board then, and I don't know how we can get that information prior to going to the board, maybe?
Yeah, 'cause I think that's what I'm waiting for, or before I say yes, is I want to see the credit and all that stuff.
say, we have
We
his
Can we-
credit
We have
report.
all we don't usually put that in the
Right.
Just those cards.
packets. And, yeah, and
So
personal
how
financial
you gonna do that?
documents.
Disperse it to us, and
Yeah, we can-
then we can say we can recommend it, or,
So do we table this for the next meeting or?
no, we
How
won't
do
do
No,
we-
I don't
that.
wanna do that. I mean, Yeah, I don't know how
Or
logistics,
just
I don't know how
print it out and
logistics
we can
work.
see it, right? You just can't discuss it.
Oh, no.
And
Or do you have the,
hopefully,
it's in the folder, isn't it?
yeah. How many?
Or then go to the
I can go
executive
get the
session
folder.
and turn that off for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
I
can
don't
we do
know.
that?
I can pause, you guys
Can
are
we,
executive.
Okay, great.
I go into number 2. Which,
This
It didn't do it.
recording thing's gonna be
No.
interesting.
Wait a minute,
And I was like, I
hold on.
can't pull it, I was like, I
one. Okay, you're back.
Chuck will be asking me next Christmas. You going out for them, Jerry? Oh,
No, we might be going out for a jump and go.
No, yeah. It's fine. It's fine. He's right next door to her.
You at the next board meeting? Because you gotta present this, okay.
I'll approve it too.
All right, so we're.
So what's our next one?
On that, or?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion since I was the one that.
Yeah, you were drinking the coffee
Since I was
already.
drinking the coffee, I was drinking the
I'll
milkshake
second
coffee.
it. I'll go down, no.
I'll go down. Listen to that. Wait, come back to you.
With the corner.
Alright,
Okay, so the next one is Sweet Hill Bridal. She has been a long-standing,
This is work.
client of ours. So, this one came over to us, directed to us by Mr. Capone.
So I cannot vote on it.
So you cannot vote on it, but,
oh man.
so she is requesting 40,000, at a 6% interest rate. It would be 2 months interest only is what I would be recommending, and then amortized over the 5 years. So as I said, Katie has been a long-term customer of ours. She has always paid as agreed. It turns 5 in January. She's having a little party for it. But the reason she's looking for money is, so every year she does some type of project or something to better the experience of the brides coming in. This one went significantly over budget. And as I said, 40,000, it's not all,
She needs some working capital.
yeah, and she needs some working capital. Her rent went up 44.5%. Yeah.
Big. Jake jumped her rent $1,000 on her, but
Wow.
as far as the bank, she's had a few delinquencies and all that stuff. This working capital will help alleviate the cash flow. She has never missed a beat here which I was not shocked, kind of shocked. So this 40 here will give her working capital. She's got an SBA note maturing, that's about $2,000 a month in 2 years. So looking past that, she'll be in a good cash position after not even 2 years. February, she opened in February 2020 during COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, as I said, she's never been delinquent with us.
And the trust was at 40,000.
Yep,
When we started.
yeah. And the other thing she's using the funds for is it's marketing.
Secured bank. You get second addresses on this one.
You're abstaining.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we take it up to the board.
Second.
Is this yours also?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy,
Keep
going
going.
on today.
You ain't
I'm gonna let you.
You ain't afraid to get it in before you go, eh?
These are my
I was like,
favorites.
this is the letter he sent me.
No, basically, Query's got well, let's back up. Originally, when he was gonna do this project, he had commercial space that was gonna be leased by a couple doctors in town. That fell through. They were gonna do their own build outs for the project. Didn't come to fruition. He's got a tenant now that they're just finalizing the lease, a good tenant. The appraisal had assumed a $14 square foot lease. He's gonna be getting 20, what did I say, 20? That's my email.
2248.
So he's getting 2248, which obviously is built in, or builds in the leasehold improvements. But he needs he's got a project of $900,000 to do the build out of the first floor commercial space, which will reflect in the increased rent difference of 14 to 22.8 will carry that.
He'll recapture it in the lease, that's
Yes.
what you're saying?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So he's gotta upfit it and he's gonna recapture it. over the
Yes, yep.
lease. What, do you know the length, is it a 10-year?
10-year lease with renewable options. We do know who it's gonna be, but I don't know if we need to say it yet or.
Yeah, I know they're announcing it soon, so.
He said it was okay to say, but.
We don't need to know it here.
Yeah.
No,
Board level.
Exactly, no.
no, not even there. When we're in public forum, we don't need to disclose that kind of information. The value,
Yeah, so the appraisal is 2.6, right? 2.6 as completed.
revised to reflect the new act?
No.
No, that was on the previous.
Right, because where I was going with that, it doesn't really matter because
Right.
it's gonna be kind of a wash essentially.
Okay,
But keep in mind, this is a construction loan and we're gonna pay down by the, was it Restore? It's the Restore grant?
Yeah, the National Grid grant.
Yeah, so we're gonna be over that threshold, just like a traditional, or any construction loan, once it gets paid down.
right, then
the
it comes
permit.
into, right,
And,
the LTV comes.
and I have spoken to Dink, Michelle on this, who we are co-proportional seconds on this.
Yep.
We being the LDC.
LDC, she's on board with it, and she's taking it to her board this afternoon for approval of the request as well.
So you're just asking us to subordinate your
To the additional
additional lending you guys are gonna put in.
Yeah. Unless you guys feel like you wanna take a piece of it, I don't think you do. You guys are in for 400.
Yeah, no, I think we're in where we can be.
And that's another thing too, keep in mind, the bank hasn't formally approved it, but because of the holidays, my sister's not meeting next
So
month.
after, yeah.
Or she's not meeting in January,
Oh,
and this just,
it's
right, so,
gonna be a few more.
so you guys are actually approving this prior to the bank approving their portion.
So we make ours conditioned upon
Yeah.
bank approval.
Yes.
That's all.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, because it's contingent on it being approved.
I thought I saw that.
It's on the recommendation.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Yeah. Any questions from anybody? I'll recommend we take that one up.
Do you have a second?
Do it second. I was waiting, phrasing it like that.
I'll just get beat up on my board for doing the whole amount.
All right.
So the last thing on here is the policy that governance is kicking over to loan. But I would like to suggest that you do some research and come back to us with some best practices that
Okay.
you would like to see. Because you had mentioned that you feel we don't necessarily enforce
Yeah.
bad debt the way, or pursue it the way we should. So I think I wanna put the ball in your court on
Okay.
this, to kind of lead this, but
Figure out how I want to.
before we look at it and pick it apart.
Oh,
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
good.
Because you're the one that's gonna have to ultimately.
I'm the one that has to deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, do the collection activity.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a little aggressive.
So, for Ed,
Yeah.
this point for the
Commercial
meeting
space,
next week, will you
It's a little
be
concerning to
We
me.
want to-
approving what we have
Yes.
and then we'll go forward?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 'Cause
Yep.
maybe
There's two
it's
things,
just in New York
there's two
City.
things that we're not changing right
Right,
now.
so-
My recommendation, one would be this, and the other would be the audit, that financial piece, because you're gonna work through that with the auditor, right?
Yeah.
But we've thoroughly reviewed all the other documents and given recommendations for
Okay.
change, so.
Mhm. Yep.
Does that feel fair? I know you guys were having a sidebar conversation, and we were having a sidebar conversation. But what I'm proposing to Kylie, because she had some concerns that she expressed at the governance committee about maybe we need to do a little more due diligence with trying to collect bad debt, even before it gets to that stage. So I'm putting the ball in her court to come up with some recommendations as to how she would like to tweak that document and then bring them back to us instead of us picking it apart. You know, I'd kind of like to see her steer that with some what she's seen in the industry that might fit.
And this is something I've not done any research on since I originally started, but what is the cost? Because like we don't report to credit agencies because it was always too expensive. Is that still a very expensive cost?
I don't know what the cost
I
is.
don't know what the costs are, but a lot of times,
It's a lot of time.
on the commercial stuff, we don't report anyways.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's an
So it's an
individual,
industry norm to not
right.
report.
Well,
Yeah,
there's like other
There's other-
reporting, but
yeah,
those are kind of more like Duns and
Duns and Bradstreet,
Right, but
Because
Lloyd's.
like we don't have an issue, I mean, for the most part.
I'm sorry to interrupt,
Oh,
but,
okay.
you're talking about collection and stuff like that and a policy towards collection. I think one thing is just hitting timelines, right? 30, 60, 90 days, phone calls, stuff of that nature.
Which is all stuff that we do.
And there's really nothing more, I shouldn't say there's nothing more, but a lot of it's just monitoring proactively, trying to, well, we do risk ratings, we get financials on an annual basis, but
You know,
And we
yeah.
request annual financials as well,
yeah,
We
maybe,
do?
don't we?
No. I don't think we
Some
are.
of
I
them,
think it's in the documents.
some of them we do.
or maybe you start,
Oh,
hey,
that was the
we
thing
got
that
a
we
loan,
did for all of them. over there, so-
250 and above, take a look at that,
Yeah.
how many we got, 10? And then if
And I
if
know the
it's
one
10,
thing, I mean,
you take a
by,
look at them a little bit more.
I have found that
scrutinize it
those
more.
businesses that we have stronger relationships with, especially ones that we're working with as far as like marketing pieces or just we go out and visit them and stuff like that, having those stronger relationships makes it so they're less likely to be delinquent, which is something that we want to continue to be doing.
Alright.
Especially with our marketing piece, what we're collaborating with other businesses right now has so far, I mean, it's only been a couple months, but it has definitely created those better relationships, which I think does help significantly when it comes to
Absolutely.
collection activity.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too is we talked about in the past is automatic payments too. I think we
Which
need
we-
to revisit that.
No, we've
That-
already got it.
We're
Have you?
We're
starting
doing
it.
the ACH thing through the bank.
So maybe that's a
through
stipulation we
Watertown
put into all of our
Savings
loans. They
Don't
have
go
to be
forward.
Set up.
Automatic.
I already
That's
had
right.
my first test done.
Yes.
Subject.
That's what the,
It's these guys.
pursue
Yes.
loans, the 504 loans, they sign up and they automatically take the payment from.
Well, that'll give you a better indicator versus the stories, right? If
Yeah.
you don't get a payment, now you know they can't say to you, hold, the check's in the mail, or I'm getting this, I'm getting, you know the funds weren't there. There's
Yeah.
some indicator right then. Then we don't wait 30 days or 60 days, right? We're kind of, that's the other thing I think today we gotta be cognizant of, is we talk about the profile of these loans, right? 30 days is a long time for a small business. You know, I mean, candidly, at the bank, we monitor daily, we get a report. When it's 10 days past, we're looking at it going, is this person usually populate a 10-day late list? If not, we're probably picking the phone up and going, hey,
So and I feel like a big thing for us, so when I started, before I started back in 2019, we didn't do late loan fees. We have it written in that we can, but we never actually.
Assessed them.
Yes. So then, that was one thing, we sent out letters and everything, and we started doing that. Well, then COVID happened, so then we once again suspended the late loan, fees.
assessment.
And I definitely think that's something that should be brought back, because I think when people are past due, they're like, oh, well, we're not gonna get charged extra from them, and there's no,
Yeah.
you know.
Listen,
Besides a phone
you're,
call or an email or a
you're-
stop in, they're just like, okay.
you're preaching to somebody that is 100% behind it. Look, I don't care what we're called, but our organization at the end of the day lends capital.
Yeah,
Okay, there's a price for that capital. Frankly, you know, we offer it at a very attractive price, comparatively speaking.
I agree.
So when somebody doesn't meet the terms, there should be an incurred offset for
We
that.
did that. I remember that.
Yeah.
You know, so that's, you know, look, we're an economic development agency, we're a nonprofit, but yet we're still a viable piece to this community, and we need to remain viable for a long time into the future. And it's not gonna be by, just saying, oh, this is what we've done historically. We have to adapt to what the time is today and make sure that we're positioning ourselves for future success. We say that our only way to generate revenue here is loan income
Yeah.
and investment income. And we've watched that change over the years that we've been sitting around these tables.
I say there's no, to bring back our loan fees, late loan fees, I should say, is there there's nothing we have to do, because I don't know if it's a formal,
So it should be in the
It
notes.
should be in
It's
our
in-
notes. You
it's
better
in the
check with
notes.
Pete, is it?
It's in the notes.
that we
Yes,
suspended
in
them.
every single, no.
Oh, no,
that-
yeah, it's in
that
our
we
loan,
can.
You just don't
our
do
loan
it.
notes, we just don't do it because of.
You want with our discretion.
And then logistically, how do you do it? Who keeps track of it, because there's no computer adding it, you're manually.
Oh, we have to
Yeah,
manually
so
put it in.
when it comes to the
figure
billing
it
every
out.
month, when you go through and you see if they're late, that's when it's
Then you
assessed. So,
calculate the 6%, it's a 6% late fee.
and it's put on their bill to go.
Oh, the next month when
Yeah.
they get their bill. Yeah.
I would love to have a better billing system, but,
Yeah.
because it is a lot of work. So if you guys have any suggestions on that, I will take that into
So
account.
what I'm hearing from this conversation is really you wanna pay some attention to 13, the collection procedure,
Yes.
right? And that 10 to 15 day delinquent, maybe rather than a late payment notice, maybe to Mike's point, that's a phone call, right? Because you're talking about
Yeah.
relationship building and person-to-person business.
And right
So
now, it's
maybe
30
that's a
days we
phone
do
call.
the phone call.
And I gotta tell you, I don't know what's going on with the US mail system, but, I'm getting mail now across the street that's postmarked November 15th. Like, I'm talking to the mailman all the time, which mailman? Because there's a different one every day.
Yeah, it doesn't help that our mail goes all the way to Syracuse then to come back.
Yeah, and if you've got relationships with these folks, it's a lot
Yeah.
harder for me to say to you on the phone,
Yep.
right? I'm gonna wanna tell you something on the phone as opposed
Yeah.
to, I don't respond to your letter and put it in the pile. So maybe this is kind of the crux of what you've been talking about, where you wanna
Yeah.
offer us here's how you would tweak this. I just don't think that there's much to gain from us picking apart this 10-page document, when at the end of the day, you're the one that has to, yeah.
No, I
Right?
agree. I
So if
agree.
you bring us your ideas for how you wanna tweak that.
The
Does that
other
sound
thing,
good to
yeah, that's
everybody?
fine. The other thing I will say is, while we're in the lending policy, is I know it's been a few weeks, months, that we talked about size of loans. And based on where we are with our current financials, that may be something we want to consider today. We may want to put some limitation to, we won't entertain a request over this certain dollar amount.
Because we can usually, out of our own accounts, do a $40,000 loan, once a month, I would say, from historically. So what we're getting back from interest and principal payments, that's typically, it's those larger loans that we have where it's like, we're going to have to pull out
That's what I
money
mean.
out of our
Yeah.
investments for, like the two that we're recommending to the board, those will be paid out of our bank account. But the larger ones we have pending, that's.
Yeah, you're gonna have to
You're
draw
gonna-
down
yeah.
on, yeah.
And it's a conversation of every single month with Cyril saying, hey, these are the, what
And
we
we're in
have.
contact.
And so we
Is
have
it a
an idea.
lending policy or an investment policy? Right, like what you're talking about, are we focused more on when the investment reaches, we wanna keep it at a certain threshold?
That could be too.
Yeah.
That's a whole different story, but think about,
When I started.
we're 10 million in assets. When you started, we were probably 3 million in loans and 7 million in investment.
Yeah, we're definitely, and we are, 4 and 6, I think, right now, so
6 in loans and 4 in, yeah.
investments.
And we're gonna draw down to cover another half.
Which
maybe.
I would like us to see it as be more 50-50. And from being comfortable standpoint and looking at
Well,
what.
the other thing you can't lose sight of is, of that 4 that's left, we have to take a reserve out of that 4 for the 6 million
Yeah.
that we've got sitting on the books. Knock on wood.
Yeah, so
We haven't had
ideally,
that
I would
already.
like it, yeah, so now we're saying it that way, I would like it flipped where it's 6 million investments, 4 million in loans, or 50-50, but, and that's something I've been watching since I started, about how it's going that way. It is a little nerve wracking, and it's because we have been doing a lot more. Because when I started, I asked
Yeah.
Kim, and she's like, "Oh, we do like a loan every other month." And all of a sudden, I'm
Sure.
looking, and I'm like, "That is never." I mean, we were
Yeah.
doing 2, 3,
Yeah.
especially even throughout COVID, and
Well, that ramped it up for obvious reasons,
Yeah.
but, yeah,
we
that's,
kind of continued.
that's
to
what we gotta look at. And, you know, and I still go back to the fact that we were initially funded by a project some 30 years ago. We've never took another funding since that. We've always worked with that capital that was given to us. Here we are 3 decades later. We need to be really mindful of, if we're gonna stay for 3 more decades, those dollars probably aren't gonna carry us there. We, you know, whether it's communication with the city, with the county, with who other agencies to say, hey, how do we acquire an additional pool of funding so that we can spur economic development? You know, if that's really what our mission is, that's really what we gotta be looking at. And, you know, nothing to Don. Don managed that original pool well, and he managed it through his career, but I don't think it's gonna take you through your career where we gotta go. Because we don't know what the market's gonna do.
No, you're right.
And that's where we're at today, and that's why I said it's, you know, when we look at these types of requests, that becomes more and more cognizant to me, because I know we're gonna run into a couple of challenges in the next few weeks and figure out how we're gonna position and manage some loans that we've got out there. You know, when we
The 2
continue.
that are closing, we've got plenty, we've already cut the checks.
No, I don't mean that, I mean ones on the books.
Yeah.
I mean, look at we're fortunate our
There's
delinquency
just the
report's
2 more
small,
big
but
ones, yeah.
But we know we've got some challenges that we're gonna
Yeah.
face in the coming weeks or months. on
Yeah.
some of them.
And if, like, so I don't, do you know when the Globe is looking at for us to be closed?
No, I
It's-
think around the time frame you're expecting, June,
Okay.
July.
So, and
July,
if that is the case, then we, depending on obviously smaller loans, we may have the funds for that one. But again, it all depends on how the market is and if we, what type of loan request. I wasn't expecting the 2 that we had this month, so it's not always, we don't always get what we expect.
Right.
No, that's the thing. I think honestly, generally speaking, if you gotta tighten up the or the guidelines, or your, you know, if you don't feel comfortable with somebody's credit or business, you know, you gotta, I guess, be more conservative. Collectively as a board, as an organization, until you meet your thresholds or your numbers where you wanna be on the balance sheet. But, I think there's still a lot of, big development stuff in the downtown area that we could be a part of. I don't think that's gonna go away, and I think the organization is vital for that stuff to take place. You know, when you start talking about the whole Fourth Street thing, right? Bradley's, you know, Dan's and all that stuff, and some of the other ones that we've been a part of it, and yeah, those are big dollar amount things, and you do 3 or 4 of them a year, or 2, you know,
Yeah.
it's easily goes to $1 million real quick.
Yeah, and then, you know, that's a good point, is being able to be mindful of where, you know, our focus is. And again, it's Watertown local development, but always kind of bend the thrust for that downtown, with the exception of the park that we helped onset some years ago. But yeah, just being mindful to have the resources to say, hey, if that development does come to the table, we're in a position to be able to support it. Yeah. Versus saying, no, we can't because of where our balance sheet is today. Yeah. But, all right. Good stuff.
Are you done?
But yeah.
Okay.